This is Del K. Brereton, the Trinidadian of Nigeria ancestry, and this is the Shiloh Institute and the Real Spiel. To Dr. David Israel, my Hebrew mentor, to our leader, Asriel Moore, to our president, Ibrahim Traore, Emmanuel Church of Jesus Christ Apostolic, my man, Pastor Devon Thompson, and to all that are out in the land of the free. I don't know what people are doing out here right now. Wow, look at the madness. This guy made a right-hand turn and then tried to make a U-turn in live traffic, going the opposite direction. To Faith Temple Apostolic International Ministry, to the prelate, Bishop Jerry McCullough, the College of Bishops, God bless everybody, Bishop Melvin Cross Sr., Bishop Reginald Washington. Listen, I'm here to cancel the narratives. I'm here to cancel the narratives. And I'll be having a conversation about Africa in a minute, but it's just so interesting how people create narratives. We're just stuck in this world of narratives right now. Trump, I saw a post the other day that he made mention of Congresswoman Crockett, a very bright young congresswoman, as we know, and Trump just says, "Oh, she's part of the low IQ people in the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party's in a lot of trouble." And it's crazy that somebody could have that rush out of their mouth like phlegm in the morning. To say that about a young lady that is so charismatically intelligent. It's very interesting but he'll say it enough until people start believing that Congresswoman Crockett is somehow not intelligent. Just like they said it so much to try to say, oh, Candace Owen is just one of the smartest black women I've ever heard. Candace Owen this and Candace Owen that, to the point that some of you black folks went out there, bought her book, began to change your mind on Donald Trump. And so her work was done. What they assigned her to do, they paid her to do, it was over. And some of you bought that nonsense. And so narratives keep going. I just heard something this morning. Do you guys remember Tyson Beckford? This good-looking model. And he's having a conversation about allegations that came out about him from Kim Kardashian, that he was a homosexual. And so while he's having this interview, he's like, listen, I used to date Kim. The dude lived down the hall. He's speaking of Kanye. He was dating a brown-skinned girl from Chicago. And I guess, from zero to hero, people forget, right? So I don't know how these gay rumors came out all of a sudden. But he says, listen, Vlad, he was on the Vlad show. You might be able to go and see it on YouTube. He says, Vlad, I don't cause trouble. But Vlad is a Jamaican, and he went straight into a Jamaican accent, hardcore Jamaican, who he used to run with the Shadow Posse, and I'm like, whoa. He went hard Jamaican. And said, listen, and I can't even repeat what he said, because he said some choice words in the Jamaican dialect. But I had no idea this boy was Jamaican. And after he finished talk, I said, not them rumors ain't true. Them rumors ain't true. That boy went and talked. He went right back a yard with his accent. I said, oh gosh, am I a real Jamaican boy? Narratives. People will make them up. People will say anything they want. And if you listen to them long enough, they become true. If you listen to them on YouTube, they become true. On Instagram, they become true. People have to learn to do their research and to learn to trust where the source of the information is coming from. In saying so, I wanted to, and even about Abraham Traore, again, just to continue with the narratives. Have you noticed that when you go on YouTube, there's a lot of Ibrahim terrorist speeches that are AI generated. Have you noticed that? And I think we need to be very careful believing what is coming from social media. I see a lot of speeches that are effectively AI generated speeches. He's sitting there, it's really him, but I'm looking at his lips and I'm listening to what's being said, and I'm like, no, he's not saying this. And on top of it, there are so many narratives. Every day I go on YouTube and there's a new story, some story of, oh, this is what happened and his life was saved and this took place. And I'm like, how do these people know this information, first of all? Like, it's some real intimate information, stuff of spies and all kinds of weird things. I'm like, who gave this information out? Like, where's this information coming from? And it's positive. It shines a positive light in his direction, but it sounds like propaganda. It kind of reminds me of when a lot of these, so-called leaders have died, and even rap stars, people like Nipsey Hussle. I never heard of Nipsey Hussle until he was dead. And then everything that was ever said that was good was said by Nipsey Hussle. It's like, oh my gosh, Nipsey Hussle was who was Nipsey Hussle? He was the Sigmund Freud of his time. It's crazy. So I say that to say this. I heard some things yesterday. Let me just say hello to who's saying hello to me. Good to see everybody. Good to see everybody. Good to see everybody. The lie will never be true. Yeah, everything's out of sync. The lips are out of sync. They're saying Terrori's saying this. They're saying it's a Terrori speech. It sounds like him, but the cadence and the lack of breaks, the lack of breathing, it's like, no, that's AI. And so you got to be careful with the stuff that you're hearing that either is coming from him or isn't coming from him. It's very weird to me. I'm like, why are people creating false speeches for him? And false interaction. It's just weird. Anyway. So a term that people are just hearing about because of Burkina Faso is the Sahel region of Africa. And many people have never heard of the Sahel. They don't know what that is. They've never heard of it. It's basically a sub-Saharan edge area of Africa, inclusive of a multitude of countries, Sudan, a bunch of countries. I think Eritrea is in part of it, but it's effectively an area on the edges of the deserts, and it's referred to as the Sahel region. And why is it called that? The simple answer is that's what the indigenous people call it. I think I can take these off now. That's what the people call it. That's what the people call it. Now let's get into something. I've said this about a couple of years ago, and it has to be said again. Stop allowing false narratives to become your identity. Stop allowing false narratives to become your identity. As simple as the N-word. The word that some people have said, oh, we've reclaimed it back. It's now become our word. And now we use it as a term of affection and camaraderie. That's crazy. It's crazy to say that. It's crazy to take a slur, a racial slur, and to say now we own it and now it has become ours. It's crazy. I work in the school systems where white people are so insulted by the N-word. And I work in a mostly black, in a marginalized area. And they are so insulted. They are running with the advocacy to eliminate the word from the mouths of the students. And we are sitting back saying it's our word, it's not a big deal. And I told the principal yesterday, who in front of me, chastising a young boy, he was in grade 3, for using the words that I called your father, spoke to your mother, and this is not the kind of child I believe that you are, and we know that you're not going to use that word. Even if people call you that word, you're not going to use it. And they went into this big thing. I'm sitting here watching this like a surreal, like I'm like watching white folks tell a young black boy he's not allowed to use the N-word, and it's a terrible word, and he should never use it, and they're calling his parents saying that he used the N-word. I'm just watching this like, wow, like look at the world that I'm living in right now. Amazing. And we are not advocates for, listen to me, the breaking of narratives on ourselves. We are perpetuating false narratives. And I said to the principal who walked over to me, showed me the note. He wrote a note, called somebody the N-word in the note. Pretty good penmanship, by the way. But I said, this is the problem. We gave them the word, and now it is up to us to take it back. And I said, we, speaking of on behest of black people, I said, my generation gave him the word, right? In this way, in this context, right? I said, but the generation before us afflicted us with the word. So as we have claimed the word and we've passed it on to him, we have to reteach him that the word is not an appropriate word. You know, he felt a little uncomfortable because, of course, I told him, yeah, you, Mr. White Man, gave us that word, but then we passed it on to our children as a good thing. And that's the problem, narratives, right? And same thing with the Sahel region, and with this word that I'm trying to get out of the mouths of black people, Bantu. Okay? I was listening to some Hebrew Israelite brothers, and it really hurts my heart when I listen to the American Hebrew Israelite brothers say things that they are so passionate about, but they're so wrong about. And I'd rather just correct you and give you the capacity to say the right thing. I'm not trying to change you up. You know, I'm not trying to switch you up. I'm just trying to give you the right thing. The concept of a gentleman by the name of Wilhelm Bleek. Wilhelm Bleek, hundreds of years ago, was an anthropologist, a European Caucasian anthropologist. And Wilhelm Bleek was trying to develop an anthropological categorization of African people. And Wilhelm Bleek, in his laziness, and in his ignorance, and in his desire to basically say something smart, absolutely on the wrong highway. Oh, I'm going to take forever to get to work. Wilhelm Bleek came up with a categorization splitting Africa into two major people groups. People group number one, he referred to as Nilotic. Now, the Hebrew Israelite brother who was trying to speak to this yesterday, when I looked at it, spelled Nilotic Nylotic. And I was like, oh. The concept of a Nilotic African are Africans that indigenously are close to the Nile Delta region, to the Nile River. That's the concept of that. Okay? Africans that are close to the Nile River. So, therefore, you wouldn't spell it N-Y-L. Nilotic means effectively Eastern Africa to them. And they try to categorize everyone that was effectively connected to the Nile or close to the Nile as Nilotic. They also tried to say that those Africans look different looking Africans. Let me explode that concept right away. And that's why I mentioned Sudan, which is part of the Sahel region. Why is it called that? Because the people call it that. That's it. we have the capacity to self-identify. Sudan, the nation of Sudan, north and south, ancient Nubia is what Sudan is. Let me explain something about Sudan. Sudan has 435 different languages. Do not use dialects. It is not a dialect. For example, the national languages of Canada are French and English, right? The French that is spoken in Quebec is very dissimilar. It's not like the French that's spoken in France, but they can understand each other because it's a dialect. It's a dialect. Those people can understand each other. French, still French. The 435 different languages in Sudan are not dialects. Those are languages. Within those languages, there are dialects. So you have to go 435 languages. People who cannot communicate with each other because they speak different languages. And within their individual languages, yes, of course, they're going to have dialects. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about languages. If you look at Sudanese people from the top to the bottom Sudan, those people look very different. You have multiple ethnic groups. Did you hear what I said? They are from Sudan, the nation. In fact, it should be more effectively called the region of Sudan. But in Sudan itself, there are ethnic groups that are different. So different, they look nothing alike. You have some Sudanese that have tribes like, or nations called the Dinka Nation, where Manute Bol comes from. 7-foot-something men, 6'11" women. Some regions, the women and the men, their complexion, dark, dark, dark. Black, black, dark. Very distinct. Some look like more like Ethiopians or Somalians. Some are very short, some are very tall, some are very skinny, some are very fat. You have a multiplicity of people groups in one country. Not just people groups, languages, one country. How dare Wilhelm Bleek attempt to categorize, and I'm going to say it, billions of Africans into two major people groups. I didn't get to the Bantus yet. But just think about this. These people have different ideas, different worldviews, different approaches to life. Why do you think Burkina Faso and its people and its leader are not behaving like Western Africans? They don't have the same mindset. Not sure if this is his speech or not, but I've heard that Traoré has said, listen, we are not interested in a visa. We don't want your visa. We're not trying to leave. We don't want your visa. We don't aspire to leave here. I thought that was brilliant. We want the young people to know they can stay here, not to leave here. All you offer us is a visa. I thought that was brilliant. The quote was more drawn out than that, but I was like, yeah, like a visa. All you want is, I want a visa. I want to come to America. West African wants a visa. They want a visa. They want a visa. They want to get to America. They want to get to the new land. I'll tell you right now, it's a rude awakening when they get here. But now you have children and kids saying, hey, Traoré, open your borders. We want to come and be part of your army. We want to be part of your nation. Never has that come before with it, where they want to immigrate to African nations to become part of their nation. Not just for work, but for nationality. The mentality is different. Kenya, the Kenyan was different. than the West African when it came to the West African slave trade. That's why it's called the West African slave trade. It's called the West African slave trade for a reason. Because when they got into other regions, other African people said, no, we're not selling our people. No, you're not going to be able to conquer us. They tried to conquer the Kenyans. They tried to conquer the Eritreans. They tried to conquer the Ethiopians. It was much more difficult to deal with East Africa than to deal with West Africa. And we might argue that the West Africans are the more robust, the stronger, the bigger in body structure, not necessarily in height, because the Sudanese have us beat. It might be argued that those people were more fierce even. How is it that you are so easily conquered, but the East African, the Nilotic African, the smaller African, the frailer African, they were never conquered. They tried, but they didn't win. Why did you give up the ghost so easy? And so this West African, William called him Bantu. And currently, people are trying to figure out where the heck did that name come from. Is it part of the language? Is it part of the dialect, the culture? And indigenously, when you go into parts of West Africa, they really have nothing to do with that term. That is a term a foreigner, a foreign Caucasian man trying to be scientific, put on an area of Africa, on a people group, and refer to them as Bantu. Can I go further? Listening to a South African Caucasian man discuss that black people were not the indigenous people of South Africa. Now this got real funny, baby. And he was explaining how the Bantus came to South Africa as migrants, and that the indigenous South Africans who are there are not truly black people, but they're closer maybe to an Asian type of group, because when you look at them, they have Asian type of features. They do not look like the Bantus. Wow. And that, so therefore, these people that are saying that the South African that came as a Dutch invader, colonizer, that the Bantu has no right to say that they have more rights to the land than them, because they're just migrants too. And so this again is the propagation of the nonsense of William Bleak, because of course there are indigenous people of every region of Africa. There are specific tribes, nations of regions, and sometimes those nations of people do not look the same, do not have the same languages, similar to Sudan. But utilizing colonizer anthropology, this man sat down here and tried to say that Africa didn't have black people, South Africa specifically, didn't have any black people. And the people that were there, guess what? He decided they were no longer to be considered to be black people because they were not so-called Bantus. And now we, here in the West, the diaspora, the disenfranchised, the disinherited, the uninformed, the historically blind, that have been ripped away from their historical landmarks, homeland, languages, culture, and knowledge, whose tongue are we speaking when we call each other the name? Are we speaking when we call each other the say? That's what I say to my brother. So that's what the principal said. He says Mr. Raritan, it's hard enough when I have to tell little white kids not to call each other that. White kids now, of course, are calling each other the N-word, because to them Oh, it's not a racial slur anymore. It's just a term of endearment between friends. Man, man. So how do I tell them not to use it when everybody else is using it in a term of endearment? And then I got to deal with the white kids who are calling each other the N-word. Narratives. And I've said this for 2 years on this channel. You cannot study religion without studying 3 other things. Number 1, religion and politics go hand in hand. Religion and anthropology go hand in hand. That's why you have Genesis 10 in the Bible to explain to you the anthropology of the promised people. Number 3 is geography. You cannot preach about something and you don't have an understanding about where that place is. You have to understand geography or you sound crazy. Anthropology, politics, and geography are part of the puzzle when it comes to religious thought. And I'll throw in something else too if you really want to get deep. You have to understand smelting of metal. Why do you have that? Because in understanding the smelting of metal, you can understand timelines. So you can't understand what the Iron Age is or the Bronze Age is unless you understand metal smelting. When were men able to turn minerals into weapons? What timeline was that? So I'll give you an example. Egypt, in the 16th dynasty of Egypt, that is when Abram shows up, right? Abram. There's no place called Europe. There's no nation identifying itself as Greek. This is so far before that. This is 2,000 years before that. While the rest of the world was in the Stone Age, Egypt was in the Bronze Age. Understand what I'm talking about. 2,000 years later, when Moses shows up on the scene, the world has caught up a little bit, but not most of the world. Bronze weapons are still the technological advance method and weaponry of advanced nations. The Bronze Age. Most nations are in the Stone Age. They're using wood and they're using rocks to fight. Understand that. The reason that the so-called Philistines, this is now another 1,000 years later, when King David was the king of at that time, all of Israel. Israel is just getting to the area where they're able to now make weapons properly. The Philistines' weapons are more, and the world, as everybody knows, the people that control the world are the people that make the best weapons. Who has the best weapons? Who has the most organized military fighters? And who has the best weapons? If you have an iron weapon and you're dealing with a guy who's got a steel weapon, you have a great disadvantage because his weapon is just as hard as yours, but it's lighter. And so while you're swinging a steel axe, he's cut you to pieces. While you're swinging an iron axe, he's cut you to pieces with his steel sword. He swung it 5 times by the time you bent down to pick it up. Bronze weapons, again, they're light, they're sharp, they can potentially cut stone. They can definitely cut wood. So they can use them as shields. All of these things that you have to understand are part of understanding time and understanding civilization and understanding people groups. Why the West African invasion? And it was an invasion. Why did the European invade West Africa? They invaded West Africa because of a gentleman by the name of Mansa Musa, the brother of Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr wanted to be a world explorer 400 years before Christopher Columbus, before Vasco da Gama, before the European penchant to say, let us go look for India so we can spice our food. Abu Bakr was curious, built an armada. First one, disastrous. It was too small. The ships were too small. They couldn't handle the ocean. The second one, he succeeded. Left the nation to Mansa Musa, a devout Muslim man. Islam was in West Africa. Within 400 years of Islam, it was in West Africa, all the way in West Africa. Remember, Islam is the last of the Abrahamic faiths. If Islam was all the way in West Africa, do you not think Christianity was all the way in West Africa? Do you not think the Mosaic faith was all the way in West Africa? So West Africa had the plethora of Hebrew, Christianity, and Islam. Mansa Musa, in his pilgrimage to Mecca, destabilized African economies because he had so much gold, he made gold almost useless, worthless. Mansa Musa. The Europeans said, who the heck is this African spilling out gold? Where is he from? And what did they call Africa? The Dark Continent. The Dark Continent. They went all the way to the Empire of Mali. They got to Timbuktu, realizing these people are what? They got Bibles in the libraries of Timbuktu. They got Tanakhs in the libraries of Timbuktu. They knew he was a Muslim. They had civilization here. They had ziggurats, meaning pyramids. They had great edifices. How can a man from the 1700s, who in Africa was in its height and bloom, his people were still not understanding the difference between germs, how to wash their hands properly. Louis Pasteur taught them that, yeah, you gotta wash your hands. Germs. Why did you think in the Middle Ages they had things called the plague? Because they didn't understand germs. They didn't understand you couldn't have rats crawling all over the place. They spread germs. They didn't know what germs were. How can these are the people that are telling you who you were when you were making ice in the desert, when you were cooking your food, when your meat could last for months because you understood how to salt it and how to jerk it? Come on. Why are you getting your narrative from the wrong people? This is what this whole thing is about. And it's about time that the people of the book and of the continent and of the diaspora stop being so lazy when it comes to your information. A little country boy like me can tell you this stuff. Little old country boy like me can tell you this stuff. You telling me you can't find it yourself? Why are you so quick to spread false narratives and to make it part of your religious thinking? You sound crazy. It's like me now, with my big up self, taking Hebrew now for about 9 months. And I listen now to enthusiasts of the Hebrew language. And I hear the mistakes and see the errors. I hear words that are not real words. Yesterday, a brother, and he's taking Hebrew too. I just got him into level 1. He said to me, Yao Tav. He said, Yao Tav. And I said, I said, what is that, brother? He said, it's good day. I said, Yao Tav, eh? Okay. I said, you mean Yom Tov? Oh, yeah. Trust me, I make the mistake too. Dr. Israel always has to correct me. But then you listen to other things and you realize, yeah, it's important to be taught properly. I'm not the greatest Hebrew student. I wish I was a better Hebrew student, to be honest with you. I said to Dr. Israel, I said, man, I've been taking this Hebrew almost a year now. He goes, yeah, I know. Don't tell anybody that. He's like, don't tell nobody that, because you should be way ahead. I said, I know, man. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm pretty good. I'm not the best. I thought by now I would be completely bilingual. Like I understand the block letters, and I kind of broke, or I didn't learn the script and handwriting simultaneously because I was so focused on trying to read the Bible with the block, focused on the block, and I said I'm gonna get back to this handwritten stuff after. And so I kind of broke the instructor's scenario there, but you know, I can read it, I can pronounce it, I just have to develop my vocabulary. And for the stuff I do know, I can tell when people are saying stuff or understanding things incorrectly, right? And I know nothing. I'm at level 1. I'm not even done level 1, right? That's 9 months. I should be done level 1 though. We probably should be done level 1. Don't tell Dr. Israel this. But this is the issue that I have though, is the information that's there, the people are there. I've created the FTA Theological Seminary to teach people the truth about the faith. I get into the Mosaic faith. I get into the aberrations of Christianity. I don't play with Islam, right? I leave that alone. But the Abrahamic faith in respect to Judaism, the Mosaic faith, I don't refer to it as Judaism. And come take the course and I'll tell you why. It's an inappropriate term to call the Mosaic faith Judaism. It's absurd actually to call it that. I break some of the sacred cows. I get rid of some of the myths. I teach you about the church history, right? Nonsense that a lot of people talk about with Constantine, not understanding how the church was formed, what was Constantine's role, right? Oh, Constantine created the Bible. No, he didn't. Constantine decided what was going to be in the scripture. No, he didn't. Constantine created the Trinity. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. It's just like, where did you learn this? Like, who told you this? Okay, it's not right. Let me tell you what's right. Let me explain to you the history. Let me show you where you can go actually research it and get it for yourself, just in case you don't believe me too. Narratives. And as a people who have been lied to for so long, who still to this very day have people creating false narratives about you, you should be the bastions of truth. You should be the ministers of information. No one should be able to sneak a 6 in for a 9 on you. In Trinidad, that's what they say when somebody's trying to give you a child that's not your child. They say, boy, they give you a 6 for a 9 there, boy. A 6, turn it upside down to 9. They give you a 6 for a 9 there. They don't play with that. No one should be able to do that to you. Let me see what y'all say. You don't care about the church. You're an old dude who can't accept the fact that that it's not your time. Okay. You say so. Is it still cold in Canada? It's freezing out here. God tells you some. Okay. Wow. So we have to now be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Oh, are we able to come? I'm sorry. This is what a lot of people don't understand too about faith and religion. Yahweh didn't give religion to man so that man can stay in the silo of simply religious thought and religious debate and religious observance. That is not the purpose of religion. The church's purpose and the purpose of religion given to us by Yahweh is to lay a platform and foundation and authority that you can have power over the entire world. Religion is the empowerment platform that man has to control the world. Religion is the empowerment platform that man has to control the world. If you do not come out of the empowerment platform of the kingdom of God and step into the world, you will be powerless to handle what you meet out there. If Moses didn't go up to that mountain and God empower him by showing him, Moses, what is in your hand? Stick, throws it to the ground, it becomes a serpent. Then tells him, pick it up by the tail. You don't pick up snakes by the tail. Picks it up by the tail, the most dangerous thing to do in respect to a snake. And it turns back into a stick again. Tells him, take your hand, poke it in your bosom, pull it out, leprous as snow, put it back, normal. You have now been empowered to go out there and to control the world that you live in. And when he went to deal with Pharaoh, what did he use? He used what was in his hand. Yeshua comes in 2,000 years later and says in Luke 10 and 19, I have given power over all the power of the enemy. They shall not by any means harm you. You shall trample on snakes and scorpions. They won't be able to do you no harm, but this is what he says. He says, don't even get excited about that. The devils are subject to your name. Whatever demon, whatever principality, power you tell it to do, it's got to do it. But don't get excited by that, because that's not even a big deal. He says, get excited that your name is written in the Lamb's Book of Life. God has always given his religion as a platform. He says, I will never leave the earth without a prophet. He won't do it. Why? Because he always has to leave an authority structure left in the world that speaks on his behalf. This is what prophets speak to. I've said this many times. You might have heard it already. Prophet, the role of the prophet, the office of the prophet is not to go speak to the people and tell them what the future is. It's not what it's for. The office of the prophet is to go to talk to the king and tell him, you're out of pocket. Get back in order. God says this. Do this. You don't believe me? No rain. No rain. You don't believe me? Don't worry. Something's going to happen. I'm going to show you what's going to happen. The prophet speaks for God and tells the king, get back in line. That is the purpose of religion. That is the purpose of religion. Adam and Eve, what did he give them? Dominion over everything. That is the purpose of religion. They had a very simple religion. Don't eat this. That was their religion. That was their whole religion. Don't eat this. Eat everything else. Don't eat this. That was their religion. And keep your dominion. Don't eat this. Eat everything else and have dominion. That was their religion. They couldn't do that. So what I'm trying to let you know is that narratives are important if they're right, and they are deadly if they're wrong. Because somebody showed up in the Garden of Eden with a different narrative and jacked it all up. Gave them a different narrative. That's not it. This is the narrative. And when they gave them his demonic satanic, Luciferian narrative, it all got messed up. Narratives are important. There's a goofball here with a narrative. Oh, you don't care about religion. You just care about your time has passed. You're an old guy. I'm an old guy whose time has passed. This is the funny part about people. I'm an old guy that can bench 400 pounds. I'm an old guy that's got, my knee, I got a knee replacement. I'm still faster than most people I know. Stronger, faster. We won't even talk about intelligence. But the narrative is that I don't care. I oversee churches in 3 different continents. I'm teaching people all over the world every day. But I don't care about the church. It's okay. That's what this narrative speaker. We didn't call you no names. You're just a narrative speaker. That's what they think. That's what they say. And you got to sometimes let folks talk. You got to let folks talk, baby. When you let them talk, then Yahweh can show them the difference between you and them. Sometimes you got to open up your window, Daniel, and to let the people that said, oh yeah, let's set him up. Let's let the world see that this guy is about to go down. Let's set him up. The Bible says Daniel opened his window. Said, you want to set me up? He opened his window after they made a decree that said you can only worship the king for this period of time. You can't worship any other god. They said, we got him now, because that boy worshiped God every day. He worships Yahweh, the God of his people. Opened up his window, prayed in full sight. I'm going to show you. And by the decree of the king, he was forced to be put in the lion's den. The king then realized, this is why these clowns came to me with this. They wanted to mess up Daniel. Daniel was his friend, but he signed it. And so he had to adhere to it. And the next day when he went back, and he didn't have to go back, he didn't have to go check, but he realized this thing said I had to put him in the lion's den. It didn't say I had to leave him in the lion's den. He went back and checked on him, and he said, Daniel, was your God able to deliver you? He said, oh, king, live forever. An angel has come to close the lion's mouth. Get him out of there. And put those jokers who set me up to sign this false decree, throw their behind in the lion's den. Everybody who speaks against God's people, the lion's den will be where you are. What's his name? I'm going to say his name. What's his name? Out here talking all kind of craziness. Lavoyo Matsinzinga, the lion's den. It's the lion's den for you, brother. Let me see here. Maddie Nelson asked if I'm always on this time. Yeah, this is the time I try to pull it off between 7:30 and 8:30. I try to do this time Monday to Friday. The weekends, I'll give you guys a break on the weekend. Yeah, I'm looking at the conversation. Zenobia, do you believe in Yeshua HaMashiach? And Zenobia says, Maddie Nelson, I don't believe in anything. Oh gosh, just sit and read Deuteronomy. I think you guys, I think friendly fire is happening over here. Zenobia is okay. Yeah, I think Zenobia's okay, Maddie. I think Zenobia's just messing with you. They wouldn't be. Yeah, Zenobia's just playing with you, Maddie. Zenobia isn't playing with. Zenobia's just messing around with you. So the narratives, as I close. This is a season, ladies and gentlemen, of the book that was eaten. This is a season of the book that was eaten. I'd like you to look into and for those who want to, you know what, this is the great part about this. I want you to go look in the book of Revelations. And the ones who aren't going to go there, I can tell you where it is. I can tell you where a secret is. And I know because of your bias, Yahweh won't even let you go there. That's what the Lord said about Pharaoh. He hardened Pharaoh's heart so he wouldn't let the people go, so he could show you. I'm going to tell you where it is. I'm going to tell you where the secrets are. And you still won't go there. I want you to go look in the book of Revelations. You're not going to find anything, but you're going to find something. And you're going to find in the book of Revelations where Yahweh gave John a little book. And he told him, this book, eat it. Don't write in it, just eat it. Don't write this part down. Eat it. Because we've reached a place, and we are here. We are at the end of the information era. We are within the church age. The church age was the acquiring of all the God formation, information from heaven and understanding earth. But we are reaching the eschatological end time where we are. It is after the information era. And it will be the inspiration era. Where now information is in you. And the way to deal with it is now via inspiration era. The little book. You must eat of the little book in order to understand what's coming next. You have to have insight and foresight and hindsight now. Right? I don't come to you with any script. Nothing is up my sleeve, right? Because I tell people all the time, I'm at a level that other people are not at right now. And it's not a boast. It is just telling you where I am. I am not on the monetary level. And I am not on the information level. I am on the faith level and the inspiration level. The faith level is the level that is my provision level. I am provided for by faith, whether it brings me money, whether it brings me access, whether it brings me gold, whether it brings me anything I require in life, whether it brings me the whirlwind to fight against my enemies in the palm of my hand. I am dealing not on a monetary level. I couldn't be dealing on the level of Elon Musk. He's below me. I couldn't be dealing on the level of presidents. They're below me. I'm on the faith level, not the monetary level. And I'm not on an information level. I'm on an inspiration level. And you are qualified for that too. I'm not special. I'm not special. I'll say it 3 times. I'm not special. I'm just telling you where I sit and how I disseminate what Yahweh gives me. I'm not special. Israel, when they came out of Egypt, the Bible says they spoiled the Egyptians. They borrowed of them. They had so much gold, Egyptian gold, that when they came to give to the tabernacle, Moses had to tell them to stop. We don't need any more. That's how much gold they had. But they weren't on the monetary level because all that gold they had couldn't buy them water to drink, couldn't take care of them in the wilderness, couldn't stop armies from running up on them. All that gold. So the monetary level, even 4,000 years ago, right? I got to correct something too, because Abraham would have been 6,000 years because Moses was 4,000 years. Even 4,000 years ago, the monetary level to people of faith means nothing. Nothing. It doesn't mean nothing. They had so much gold. They could have been one of the richest nations around, 2 million people carrying bags of gold in the desert. And still it couldn't do nothing for them. All of them died. All of the ones that left Egypt as adults died, left that gold right there. Because the monetary level can't get you to the promised land. My people, if you could hear my voice. Reparations ain't going to get you to the promised land. Getting a bunch of pieces of paper with the faces of Abraham Lincoln and Benjamin on it ain't going to get you to the promised land. It's the faith level that's going to get you to the promised land. That's what gets you to the promised land. And how do you deal in the promised land? You deal in the promised land by inspiration. This is why the man whose kingdom has no end wrote most of the inspirational texts of the scripture, the Psalms, by inspiration. He wrote those. By inspiration, he led. He was a man led by inspiration. That's why Yahweh said, he's a man after my own heart. He's after the inspiration of the Spirit of God. The narratives, you sit there and you check them out, you be like, that don't sound right. That don't sound right. I can feel the spirit of my mentor in me. Brereton, that don't sound right. That don't sound right. That's right. When you adopt somebody's mindset, their spirit goes with you. That's what Elisha said to Gehazi as he went to collect Naaman's gold, because he wanted to be on the monetary level. He wanted to take a back step and take the gold and the clothing and all of the stuff that our community is so fixated on, the consumption level. Elisha said, Gehazi, did not my spirit go with you when you went to collect the gold and the clothes? I'll tell you something. Trust me. My resources and my research is good. It comes from above. You don't need the monetary level as much as you need the faith level. I'm explaining to you, you don't need the information level as much as you need the inspiration level. But some of you still need some information because your information is bad, because you're getting it from the wrong source. I preach the message as I close. No more snakes in my garden. No more snakes. You're getting information from snakes. And that information ain't good. Be very careful what you watch on this here internet, including me. Check it out. Go see if these things are true. Don't trust a doggone thing you see and hear on this internet. But if you're inspired, go do some research. All right, this is Del K. Brereton. This is the real spiel, baby. This is the Shiloh Institute. Be careful of the narratives. You are not a Bantu African. Hey, don't let these people put you in their little categories. Bantu, Nilotic. Don't put me in your category. You can't categorize me. I gave you civilization. You cannot give me a name. We'll talk soon.